Hello, my name is Alun. My pronouns are he, him. Today, I'm facilitating the fourth of 7 sessions of Free from the Yoke. If you know about Free from the Yoke, go back, see episode 1 from 3-4 weeks ago. But I'm not going to say any more about it, apart from the fact that we are playing today using the Gauntlet community's guidance on, good play. We're also using a set of safety tools, and again, if you want to hear more about those, go back, look at an earlier episode, because there's quite a lot going on in the game. So I'm keen to make a start, I guess. But yes, so that is that. I will ask the players just to check in on the lines and veils, see if those are still valid, if they want to add anything or whatever. But that's my intro blurb done. What I'd like to do is to ask each of the players to introduce themselves, tell us about their pronouns, and just give us a quick pen picture of the character they're playing, but also, because we're playing Free from the Yoke, the house, the faction that they are playing. I'll do this in the order I can see you on the screen until I lose track of who I went to first. So that means Joe. Joe, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to your character and house.
Hi, I'm Joe, pronouns he, him, and I don't know if you saw it in the chat, but I think Dan says there's a change of plans and he is coming, so he's on his way. But
right.
Again, Joe, he, him, I am playing, the house I'm playing is the Horselords of the Steppe, which we are calling the Jezdec. So sort of your prototypical, I suppose, think prototypical nomadic steppe people. And the character I am playing right now is Jarell, who is a old warrior from the house that would have been the around when the revolution actually occurred. And so I'm hoping that we are stepping into a moment where maybe Jarell could do something Blaze of Glory-ish. So that is one of my goals for today. So that's me.
We'll see what we can do. Dan, thanks for joining us. I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. In fact, I should wish our thousands of viewers happy Thanksgiving 2022. Alex, let me come to you next. Say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to your character and house.
Hi, I am Alex Greenshields. My pronouns are he, him. I am playing a group of people because I feel like the faction really is the character. The individual person I play just almost feels like an afterthought. But yeah, I play a group of people called the Cursed, and specifically a scout named Elena. Yeah, that's who I am.
I think you've got a point, actually. I think that Legacy and Free from the Yoke is kind of a faction game in which there are characters. Let me go next to Jason. Jason, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to your character and house.
Yeah, I'm Jason. I use he, him. I am playing the church called the Shining Path. They are, let's see what's happened with them lately. So the Alex's group stole our money, and we don't have any grudges about that at all. And we successfully, Salah is my character, he's sort of a spy master, and he successfully has been creating a lot of turmoil in the great city where they're trying to build, the Ys are trying to build this road. And in the turmoil, he was able to steal what did I steal? The recruits. So that was interesting because the recruits originally were the Cursed, and they were given to the Ys, and then I stole them. So that was fun. Yes. I think that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, stole in the sense that you have suborned them from their task of building the Great Highway by being nice to them and just generally encouraging them to spend more time in prayer and less time working, I think is the way I imagine this happening. Go on.
I was just going to say, and I also successfully framed my boss for doing that, and he was turned into mulch for the trees.
He was, and it's all a bit uncertain about which way the Shining Path is going. I've no idea, frankly. Dan, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to your character and house.
Hello, my name is Dan. My pronouns are he, him, and I am playing the Forgers. They're known as the Sparking Chisel and Blazing Mallet. They are the one house that's actually trying to get this road done. We're just trying so hard to build a road.
I am offended by that.
I mean,
The cursed volunteered their very bodies.
Yes, you did your part, and I appreciate that. But the Forgers, the Blazing Mallet, Sparking Chisel, sometimes we feel like we're the only one who can get anything done around here. And to that end, we've been trying to clear the Ashen Ward in the Great City. It's not going great. And we've also sent our ambassador, Kassie Onyx Chip, to the Riverlands to try and secure some additional technology to facilitate this process. And word has it she ran into some trouble up there.
Exactly so, exactly so. So far, as well as the player character houses, we have currently 3 non-player factions on the map. The Pilgrims from the south, Scholars from the south seeking enlightenment. We have the folk of the Riverlands that Dan just mentioned. These are peaceful fishers who are used to building in difficult circumstances, and that's why I think that the Chisel and Mallet were after some engineering expertise from them. And yes, the aggressive raiders from the north that Kassie and the others ran into last time, the marauding serpents, who say that they are coming. More of that next time. The other significant issues on the table at the moment, yeah, we are trying to get a highway built because Free from the Yoke has a kind of non-player character that I kind of run called the Wise. These are the people who originally led the rebellion that freed the land from the Empire a generation ago. They were all committed to the ground in groves of trees, which are now said to embody them, and they communicate with the people of the land of the wise by dreams and visions to people called listeners. So they have intermediaries on earth. But yes, they are trying. The word from the wise was they wanted a road built, and that is proving something of a challenge because at the moment, the progress on the project is just about balanced by the doom of the project. So we're wondering which way that's going to go. If either the project is completed or it is finally doomed, that will end this age and we will move the age on. Whether we'll get to that point, I don't know. But yes, the other significant thing is that there's a place in the north called the Place of Bones, and out of the Place of Bones have emerged an army of Imperial Dead who are marching across the north of the land, spreading corruption and generally doing a bad thing across the north. And I think we're going to see a kind of confrontation of some kind with them today. So in terms of today, I just want to check in with the players because in my mind's eye, we know that Salah and Jezdec, Salah of the Shining Past and Jezdec of the Jezdec have not yet had a zoom in. We know that the zoom in that I think, Jason, you were thinking for Salah was a river heist. You've set up the fictional positioning to steal some more raw materials that you need, which were destined for the project, for the road building. So I'm imagining we'll do that. Then we might, depending how time's going, we might fit in a round of house moves. And then we will go to the confrontation between the Jezdec Horselords and the army of Imperial Dead. That's my thinking. I do want to just check in though. Did we do the zoom out at the end of last time? No, I didn't think so. Okay. So let's begin with the zoom out then, because we finished play last time with Kassie and her ambassadorial mission. So when we zoom out from that, we will, each player whose character wasn't involved. So I think that that was Salah, because we knew Salah was busy near the great city, and Jezdec, because we knew that he was busy up there heading towards the sharp end of the Imperial Dead. So each of you says what the character was doing instead and gets fleeting advantage on their next house move if it capitalizes on their character's activity. So I'm pretty certain I know what Salah was doing, but just you know, confirm for me.
Well, I was thinking, we already have laid out that I'm going to be trying to have this heist. But to take advantage of this zoom out move, maybe I also am grabbing the marble that the Ys have.
Why not, eh? So while a small band of motivated individuals going to try and take the raw materials off the riverboats, maybe the house is going to go after the stockpile of marble. Well, let's see how that goes. Fair enough. Then what about Jezdec and the Jezdec? What is? I think I know what Jezdec's been doing, but you tell me.
Yeah, so I envision that Jezdec left the rest of the last time and headed back to the steppe to warn them of the impending dangers and to rally a response to the army of the undead. And as mechanically speaking, at some point, Alan, I am angling for him taking the leader role as he does this. So just putting that out there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, leader for you, Mark, when your house's misfortune brings them down to your level. Well, I suppose that might depend on how this battle goes. But let's begin then with a zoom in. Now, this is Salah's zoom in, and my feeling is that Kassie and Elena are busy in the west, so they're not on the table. Jezdec is busy in the north, and frankly, given what Salah is planning, involving members of other houses might be a bit sketchy anyway.
Yeah.
So I suppose the key question is, Salah, do you want to offer one of the agents of the Ys to anyone, or are we looking at 3 Shining Path quick characters?
I think the agent would probably be against what I'm doing, so I don't know if that would make sense. So I think 3 quick characters.
Okay, so folks, if you haven't made a quick character yet, hop over to the Shining Path tab. Go along to, they start on column O. I've just realized there's no way to identify who's doing what there. So can I suggest that column O, that's you, Joe. Column V, that's you, Alex. And column AC, that's you, Dan. Okay. And all you have to do is select a quick character role. That will give you a particular role move. You get automatically a death move, the same death move, the same inheritance move, and it will tell you in the note on the stats exactly what distribution of stats you get. And then you add your house bonus, your inheritance bonus, which I think for
Cunning or lore,
thank you.
I think so.
Yeah, lore or bravery.
Lore or bravery, okay.
You get a bonus +1 in lore or bravery. Each of you gets the same basic assets as any character of the Shining Path. So you all have a bunch of Templar guards, a handful of vicious, well-drilled thugs.
I'm sorry, I was spacing slightly. What were you saying about the stats we get?
You get, if you hover over the stat cell,
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it'll say
Alan, you're
+1,
so
0,
good.
0,
It makes
-1.
It makes me sick sometimes. I'm just saying that. I say that out of love, really.
So basically 2 zeros, a +1 and a -1, and then you can modify one of those by 1 up, either in bravery or in law.
Ah, I see. Okay.
I'm just thinking of something else, but how old is Kassie, Dan?
She's young, isn't she?
Yeah, in game terms, she's labeled as young.
Okay.
I picture her sort of not quite fresh out of ambassador school, but maybe a few years out of ambassador school.
Okay.
We have a naming convention for the Shining Path, don't we?
Yeah, they're sort of Arabic.
Sure.
Although you could really, I mean, they have followers from other cultures. So I honestly, you probably could choose just about any name.
But yes, I've just popped up Kassie there. She certainly looks to be no more than her early 20s, I'd have thought.
Yeah, yeah. The reason I asked is I was thinking you have this thing where we have a unprofessional relationship, and I was wondering if it was a romantic relationship. Salah's in his 30s, so I don't know how gross that would be. So,
Well, give it some thought. The next time we have
Yeah.
Kassie on screen, we'll ask the
Sure.
question properly. But point taken. I suppose inappropriate covers a multitude of sins. Yeah, but I think you're right to
Yeah.
check in.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm seeing a rogue, a champion, and an outsider. Okay, so the rogue is looking for a get out of jail free card, just in case they get caught. The champion, yeah, all I'll need the champion to do is to say a narrow field you're an expert in, and you'll get advantage when acting on that to reveal a secret about a situation related to your expertise. And the outsider, you have strange abilities. And if you just want to, whoever's chosen that outsider, if you want to highlight or fill with color whichever stat you are, pick a stat, you can take a flesh wound to roll with advantage, right? So pick the thing you want to be particularly good at, and we'll have you describe what your strange abilities look like in play.
And where are we notating that specialty?
Are you the outsider? Then all
the
I'm
champ.
asking, the champion. Good question. There's a chunk of stuff at the bottom called notes. So I
okay.
guess there.
When I played the champion last week, I put it right under roll move. I just put it in parentheses, hammering in my case.
You were in the hammer, yeah. And I think I'm right in saying that each of you has 2 gear points. So I'm going to pop those in for you just as I go across. Because we are, just for listeners, we're not using the provision and prepare and provision rule as written, because in my experience, it takes a lot of time to do and very rarely has much impact on play. So instead, I've adapted a kind of blades in the darkish approach to this, which is that you get a certain number of points that you can spend when you need some special bit of equipment or kit or people, whatever. So,
Sorry, Alan, is a combat a too broad of a narrow field?
no, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, it's no broader than hunting. Diplomacy is enormously, no, not a problem. What else do you want your champion to do? Okay, so we have a team of motivated Shining Path individuals. So let's just let's just have a scene near the place where you're going to stage this heist. Who's talking to who? Who is Nassif talking to about what's to come?
I think I was thinking that being the rogue, that perhaps he is a protege of Salah, as far as his relationship. So I think maybe we see them conferring about the plans for the, and how he's going to, what his role is going to be, and what Salah wants him to do.
So I
Salah,
think,
what's the conversation
yeah,
about?
Salah, I see us in sort of like a dark basement somewhere, and there's a table in front of us that has all little models out of like the setting. And I say, so here's the warehouse. This is where they're going to bring the raw materials, and should be arriving tomorrow at dawn down the river. And I want you to get in there and replace the guards with our people, and fool them into believing that we're the dock workers, and take the delivery and load it right onto the caravan, and we'll send it out to the west. That's the plan.
So I think he acknowledges, right, and then and the existing guards.
Yeah, there should be a dozen guards, we'll say.
I guess no, sorry. I guess he's kind of angling at, are we killing them, or are we secreting them away, or whatever? So,
well, if you can, if they don't figure out who we are, just capture them. Maybe we'll frame someone else for this. But if they figure out who you are, kill them.
understood.
Just before I leave you, Joe, I think you have a bonus to add to either law or bravery as the inheritance bonus for the shiny.
Oh, the inheritance bonus. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna double down on cunning.
I know it's bravery or law, I'm afraid. That's
Oh,
what the
yeah,
path
that's
offers.
right. Then bravery.
Okay. Esan, the champion, and Nephi, the outsider. What's the nature of the conversation that we see between you two?
Well, Asan is an extremely honorable and honest warrior. He's very young, but he has proven himself a number of times, and that's why he's being included. He's generally left out of all planning because he makes very silly ideas. He contributes very silly ideas that are too specific and don't actually help the overall thing. And he's also very honorable. So if there's any, he was left out of the planning for this altogether, because they thought he would just spend most of the time, groaning and moaning. I don't know if that gives you any material that you can work with for this conversation, but.
Oh, yeah, no, I like it because Nephi has also been left out of the planning, because she's a contemporary of Salah's. They're in my mind distant cousins, but she comes from a slightly different sect, where their devotion to the Shining One is expressed differently through these rituals that they go through, and it sort of gives her this immense might, this immense power. But she is utterly skeptical of the subterfuge and the sneaking around and the heisty stuff, and she believes that people should be embraced by the Shining One by force. and that all of this politics is ridiculous. So while I imagine that she and Asan are outside complaining, one about how he could be planning it better, and maybe one about why are we even doing this at all.
And what exactly are we doing? What's, so Salah, I mean, is you've had this team pulled together. Presumably the house is not entirely certain what you're doing with them, or is this secrecy something else? What's going on?
I think maybe I'm trying to bring Alex and Dan's characters more into my orbit. So maybe this is a chance to test their loyalty. Times are changing. The house is changing. The wise may not be in power for much longer. It's time for you to make your choices as to how you're going to line up in the new order, so to speak.
But is that
I've given them this
explicit?
key role. Yeah, I think so. I think we have a flashback to me sitting down with them and maybe others that are wavering and saying, this is a chance for our house to, the high priest, messed everything up, and embarrassed themselves, and this is our chance to bring our house back into glory.
What does Isan make of that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I can see that, up until now, most of the fighting that's been done has been either fighting, remnants of the empire that once was, or dealing with the chaos that was the after effect of the empire leaving and the power vacuum. So it's kind of a new world that they have entered, and he's not quite able to make the jump yet. So
what about Nephi? I mean, does that pitch work with, bring people to the shining path with fire and sword?
I mean, I think she is an outsider because she's skeptical, but likes maybe I mean, she's got a pretty good cunning, so maybe she's smart enough to know if the wind is blowing in a different direction, she shouldn't. She should probably follow it for a bit. Since they're cousins, I also imagine they grew up a little bit together, in and out, like knew each other well enough where when Salah asks for some help with something, Nephi shows up.
it might also be interesting, and please feel free to ignore this, but that she is kind of maybe not the leader, but certainly is a prominent member of that subsection of the group, and that Salah feels that if he can convince her, then he's come a good way to convincing the group.
Yeah, drawing
the
in
faction,
yeah.
the subgroup that she represents.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think that's cool, because I think we've created this kind of subunit inside the Shining Path. We've also got, what sounds, Alex, to me as though Esan is kind of commander of temple guards. If that's the military arm of this church, it sounds like get Esan on side, and that will maybe bring the temple guards in the right direction. And in terms of Nassif's on side anyway. So right, let's set the scene. So I think that was they're due at dawn. So I'm imagining that we know the river curves around the great city, and I'm imagining some wharves. There's certainly some bonding houses or warehouses by this dock, by these wharves. Let's start with Nassif then. So Nassif, tell me something about this warehouse that you have to deal with the guards who are there.
Yeah, I think maybe it's out. I'm going to say it's just one of a series of warehouses. I imagine it just as a long long building up against the, kind of, I'm assuming it'd be like right next to the wharf area, because they would offload the materials there. Kind of your typical, multi-story, maybe not it's like two stories high, but open on the inside, but like catwalks around the, out around the inside of it.
Yeah, that works for me. Let me ask Ehsan, as we're looking at this, as we get a view of it, what's the roof like? We talking about a thatched roof, shingle roof? What am I looking at?
Have we really come down hard on the environment and the climate that we're in?
I think we've settled on vaguely middle Eastern European, Southern Eastern, so I'm thinking, Balkans, kind of maybe Turkey, I think that kind of thing.
Okay. So I would say that it's a wood roof with covered in slate, big pieces of slate with moss growing all over it.
Lovely, thank you.
And I think it's construction still from the Empire.
Yes, good plan. Yeah, I think the what might be called the vernacular architecture of the land otherwise is so far pretty varied, but I like that. Thank you. Let me go next to Nephi. What's the obvious way in and out of this warehouse, or ways out in and out of this warehouse if there's more than one?
In my imagination, the warehouse is sort of integrated with the docks to the extent that there's kind of a way in from the water itself, and that the Empire designed this so that boats may be pulled straight up to the warehouse so things can be unloaded there. There's also a place sort of, I think it's big enough where there's maybe 2 or even 3 bays where on the other side, away from the river, where goods can be loaded onto wagons and pulled off from there. There may be a little hut kind of attached to the side of it that's heated. So in the winters, workers can kind of come in here to warm up.
Like that. And finally, Salah, you've been observing this for doing the prep for this. So I'm curious, what's the thing that worries you most about this attempted heist?
I think we see me talking to my own personal agents. I call them the 11, and they're my temple guards. And there's some fierce individuals, and I think we see me talking to them aside, and I'm like, look, this is a test for all of us, but especially if Nassif, or is it, no, I'm sorry, Ehsan or Nephi should waver, dump them in the river. This is their test also. So that's what I'm most worried about, is any dissension.
Wow. Okay. Well, that gives me a free hand in terms of external opposition. Thank you for that. So there's a barge of some description being rowed down the river. Technically, I suppose upriver, but put that to one side. And let's go to Nassif first, because you have the kind of the preliminary setup here, don't you? So how is Nassif and his followers, these drilled ambitious followers, how are they going to deal with this dozen or so guards who've been set here, perhaps by the Chisel and Mallet? I don't know.
Oh, the poor Chisel and Mallet. So I guess I saw it's I think we're on the same page here. I think I saw that Nassif and his followers probably went in advance of everyone else, in the early hours of the dawn, right? While it was still dark and shadowy. And I think we see them kind of, I imagine a scene, you see the warehouse and you see guards, they're probably not like super, I mean, I guess maybe they're not super vigilant. I mean, I don't know if maybe we could establish that, right? Like, is there a reason why they would be super vigilant, or are they just kind of, normally doesn't seem like, I guess in my head, I thought maybe, you'd see some walking around, some kind of milling about, just chatting with each other and stuff. But
I think there's no question they're vigilant. There's been so much
True.
disruption to the accumulation of resource and people and work rates and everything else that the Chisel and Mallet are on this. This is an important delivery of raw materials. I want to make sure that it gets there.
Yeah, makes sense. So I think we see them doing their guarding thing vigilantly. But then, out of if you pan out a little bit, you kind of see these shadowy figures, maybe some of them coming up over the rooftops, coming around, they're kind of like spread out, kind of coming in after the guards, to take them sort of like pretty much all at once, right? Like everybody's kind of assigned, go, you get him, you get him, you get him. And then, they're coming in like that. So,
okay. So and this is to hurt, capture, or drive off. I'm assuming not drive off, because that would kind of raise the alarm. So I'm assuming that this is fiercely assault. You are outnumbered, because in my mind's eye, when I see a group of followers, I see a handful or so of followers. So, but I think we know that there were going to be at least a dozen of these guards. So I think you would be outnumbered. But the nice thing about these temple guards that you have with you is that they are vicious and drilled. And vicious gives them the characteristic of cleaving, which means you do not get a disadvantage when outnumbered. So they are a dangerous bunch of folks, right? They are trained to a pitch to just do the job. So normally I would have you roll with disadvantage for the fiercely assault, but I think on this occasion it's a straight roll plus might.
Or
Okay.
could it be the follower move? I think it's called followers under orders.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it depends whether you want Nassif to be leading them or sending them. I should have asked.
In my mind's eye, I think, Nassif is very keen to please, right? He's a protege. I think he's a hands-on sort of fella. And I think too, because he wants to ensure that I think they are going to go in and they're just going to kill them all, right? They're not going to take any chance. They're going to do because they're going to just get in there and just not take any chances, because he doesn't want to fail Salah. So,
okay, so no messing about. Fiercely assault. Roll plus might, please, Nassif.
Could I just interject here quickly?
Yeah.
I think an interesting way to play it could be that that Asan and his temple guards that he has with him, they wouldn't be setting this up. Somebody else would have come up with this idea, but that the ultimate assault from the rogues in the shadows fails, and then Asan's group comes in to like make order and like and rough them up, and then they trust they trust them to, they hand over the goods to them, and as protection against.
I mean, what I think that works. But I think that if Joe wants to come at this as fiercely assault, there's always the option for him to call for aid if this doesn't go to plan.
Okay.
And the obvious people to call to aid from are Esan and his thugs. So let's stick with fiercely assault as a starting point and see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I have a 0 for might, so we're just straight up here. A 9.
A 9. Now, do you want to call for aid to turn that into a 10?
I'm
On
sorry.
a 7 to 9, you choose one and I choose 2 from the Fiercely Assault list.
All right. Can I quick look at that? I
course.
apologize. I want to see how much. Come on.
If we get a 10, then you choose 2, and then Alan would choose 1. You kind of flip it
Okay.
around.
I think I'm going to stick with the 9.
Okay, so choose one. Your avenue of escape is clear. You inflict savage, terrifying harm and frighten your foes. You scavenge a useful piece of gear in the aftermath. You learn something useful, ask a question, and get fleeting advantage acting on it.
So, just a clarification question. For in this particular situation, would your avenue of escape is clear mean that we've taken care of them and our ability to do what we need to do is open?
I would interpret that as you fulfilling your mission, which was to replace these with our people, as Salah put it.
So that's what we'll be choosing.
Okay. So you achieve your goal. You take them out. And we see probably, dragging the bodies back inside, and just, climbing into these tabards or whatever the distinguishing features of these guards are. And so everything looks fine. And then we cut to the barge coming down the river. And we notice that the barge itself is well guarded. So, what do you think, Ehsan? Do you wait for them to unload this stuff before you take out the guards that are arriving with the raw materials, or do you have a different plan in your mind? Well,
I think,
I'm
Alan, you're
asking.
going to choose 2 from the GM
Oh,
list
true,
too.
I do. You're quite right. I keep forgetting that. Oh yeah. Oh, they're juicy. Oh gosh, something or someone important to you is harmed. Others will come after you. You take harm appropriate to the enemy. So I think that I will have you take a heavy wound because they are well-armed, tough blokes. So mark a heavy wound for Nassif. And the situation is destabilized and chaos will follow. Because what we don't notice when you all go back outside what you don't notice, but we the audience do, is that one of the guards that you've kind of dragged inside isn't dead. He's wounded. But of course you didn't bother to tie him up because you thought they were all dead. And there's the potential for him to raise an alarm. I think that's the chaos that he's going to be in train. So let me go back to Ehsan. Ehsan, do you attack as soon as the barge pulls up to the wharf? Because they see the guards who are supposed to be there, their dresses are supposed to be dressed, or do you hold off? Or do you have a different plan?
I think he's being a very honorable sort. I think he first offers them, that nothing is worth losing their life for, and that they should surrender.
Okay, so that's
facing over, trying to build up any way he can his ferociousness and his playing up the threatening nature.
Yeah, do you know how dangerous I am? You won't like me when I'm angry. Yeah. I think this sounds like it sounds more like quick action or heroics to de-escalate a dangerous situation, i.e. to stop this coming to blood and bodies. I think, to be honest, given the fictional positioning, the barge comes into this wharf. There are, as from their point of view, a bunch of Chisel and Mallet guards on the building, and you and your temple guards, your warriors, step out into the light of the torches at dawn. The sun is rising behind you, and you give it your best shot. But from their point of view, you're a handful or so of people. There's a bunch of guards on the boat. There's a bunch of guards around the warehouse. This just looks like madness on your part. So I think this is roll with disadvantage. So disarm is roll plus bravery, roll 3 dice, the bottom 2 will count.
What did you, just to throw it in, what was your roll move? What did you take yours, especially combat?
that's
Was that
true.
what you did go with?
Yes, we
You said
did.
combat though, so that wouldn't really fit. Never mind.
No, I am going to give you that because you asked me, is combat too broad? And if you meant, are we an intimidated bunch of, dangerous people? I'm prepared to cancel disadvantage for that fierce look.
Okay, would you want me to re-roll it then? Say please.
Yeah, I
'Cause-
think you better head, because I think that's 3 1s and a 6.
Glad I said something.
So there you
So
go.
9.
9. Okay, so that's a 9. Do you want to head for a 10? On a 9, you've bought some time, but choose one. Safety demands a sacrifice. GM says what? It's only temporary safety and the danger will soon return. The danger's still present, but threatening someone or something else. Or do you want to go for 10? It's safe unless changed significantly, in which case you'll need to call for aid.
Yeah, I think I'd like to call for aid.
Are you, given the conversation we've had before, it strikes me you are more likely to go to, sorry, I've forgotten her name, Neffy,
Nephi.
than you are to Salah, or am I mistaken?
Well, no, Salah he considers the superior, so he may.
Okay,
He may go
okay,
with that.
so call to aid for Salah after failure. You may say what the caravan, what could Salah do to turn this round?
I think,
Well, technically, he has to say what Salah could do, and then
okay,
you
okay.
tell me what you do. So what are you hoping Salah's going to do for you, Ehsan? In what way are you hoping he's going to swing the balance in your direction?
And he's just better at talking than I am. So he's come a bit up a bit short, which is not unusual for Ehsan in these kind of situations that don't involve clubbing someone or sticking a sword through their gut, and he once again has to rely on Salah to kind of pull his fat out of the fire when it comes to talking to people.
Okay, so what exactly do you do then, Salah?
I think we see Salah walk out of the shadows and come forward and hand a bag of coin to the boatmaster and say it would be worth your while to look the other way today.
Okay, that
Shooting
strikes.
for cunning.
Yeah, I think that's cunning. That's a cunning plan. So let's have you roll with cunning.
2d6 plus 2. Oops. That's a 12.
Oh, that goes terribly well. Yeah, sorry, I was just checking the bit of a backstory. Increase the result by 1 category, that goes to 10. On a 10, the situation is safe unless changed significantly. It turns out that the guards on the boat are not Chisel and Mallet, they're just mercenaries paid for the trip. And having Salah, make them an offer they can't refuse, is enough to, get them on side, and the relevant laborers that came down with the raw materials begin unloading. And then turmoil. You hear the rumble of chariots because our escaped guard has gone for help. The Chisel and Mallet chariot corps come hammering out, and I think probably it is Neffy who's going to see this. Neffy, you see, out of a postern gate in the wall of the great city over there, you see it creak open, and then the rumble of chariots as this reserve is coming to not let those raw materials get taken. What are you going to do, Neffy?
I'm gonna do what I was born to do, which is punch some chariots. So she has this, because she's an outsider, she has this weird power where she can take a flesh wound and roll might with advantage.
So mark a flesh wound. You've got 2 flesh and 2 heavy, so you've got a bit of scope. And I'm curious, what does this look like on screen? You know, is this a literal hulking out? Or is there something else going on here that explains why she kind of goes up the first chariot and punches the horse?
Yeah, I wanted to tie it into the sun piece a bit. So I feel like I don't know what the flesh wound part looks like, but she kind of steps into a ray of sunlight and it intensifies and it takes on, she then sort of starts to glow with the rays of the sun as well. Otherwise she looks, she's not hulking out. She looks as per usual, but much shinier. So.
Almost, you know, the sun strikes her, she absorbs it, and then begins to radiate it in this kind of almost a halo around her.
Right. And in fact, I think the part that's damaging to others when it's not that she's stronger necessarily or anything like that, but it's just she's blinding, right? It's just
okay.
Difficult.
Yeah.
It overwhelms their senses.
Okay, well, let's have you fiercely assault the chariot reserve.
I can't believe I'm punching my own people, but that's the name of the game.
We'll call you Mongo from now on.
So I'm rolling with advantage, 3d6.
You are?
But might has 0, so it's just 3d6.
Ugh.
Just for our viewers, that's a 2, a 1, and a 1. So
Yes.
that's a whole 5.
Yeah.
Can we
well,
aid
no,
him? Can
it's
we
a
aid him
3.
at all?
Oh, it's a 3. Gosh, yes, it is. I mean, it's 3. So the question is, do you want to call for aid to turn that into a 7 to 9?
I
And
mean,
if so, who do you want to call for aid?
I
now,
mean, Dan doesn't, but Neffy does.
I'll be honest with you, I think that probably you are looking at somehow co-opting into this Nassif, because I Salah and Esan are kind of engaged with the ship's crew and getting stuff unloaded and all of that stuff.
That's fair. I mean, I don't know that Neffy would call anyone in particular. God, I can't believe her magic powers didn't do anything for her. It's really depressing. I guess there's no fighting the Chisel and Mallet. Yeah, so I think she shouts out for aid, and I would imagine that Nassif is probably the best on hand.
Yeah, because Nassif, you and your team, your job's done. So what do you do to back up Neffy?
So I'm not sure if I'm gonna. So I'll narratively talk it through, and then I think maybe they will kind of pull out what you didn't see before, is they've all got like crossbows or something. And I was gonna, is this where I could use a gear point to add weapons to them? Like that, so that's what I was thinking
Exactly.
of.
So
Adding weapon far or whatever.
fine.
And then we see them all kind of rush out and form up and fire on the chariots with their crossbows.
Because they're not even because they think you're on their side. So,
Right.
you know, they're focused on Neffy, and suddenly you have so let's have you roll to help. That sounds like, I think that's a cunning plan rather than straight up might.
Yes, I like that because I have a +1 in cunning. And
Well, there you go.
Our rolls are in need of all pluses apparently today. So against, especially against the Chisel and Mallet. So, all right. So I'm rolling, let's see, 2d6. That is a 10.
Wouldn't you just love that? So on a hit, the increase goes up by 1. That turns a fail into a marginal success. So on a marginal success, you choose 1, GM chooses 2 from the Fiercely Assault.
That's back to me, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, since it's a success, then I'm intending to drive them off. So that
Fine.
will happen regardless.
It
right?
will.
I think Neffy needs to step up a little bit and maybe get Salah some useful information. So I'm going to learn something useful.
Okay. Ask a question. What do you want to know about? Oh, the
I
irony of you asking for inside information on the Chisel and
about the
Mallet is
Chisel
just...
and Mallet. I want to know. I want to maybe Neffy get some insight as to where the Chisel and Mallet have how they've made their chariots so powerful.
Right. Yes. Yes. This is why that ability of yours was less effective than you feared. Because what you notice is when this radiation washes over the chariots, you notice that there are metal inlays in some of the kind of the structure of the chariots, and it's like they just suck in that energy. So I think that the simple answer to your question is that the Shining Path now have an insight into this mysterious metal, or this metal or material, I can't remember. This mysterious, they now know of it. Up until now, it has been a closely held secret within the Chisel and Mallet. The secret is out. The Chisel and Mallet have some kind of weird magic metal, for want of a better word.
Yep.
Which might open the doors on the Shining Path, doing a bit of investigation, maybe as to where it comes from. Yeah. I don't know. There's just make a note of that, because I can't think of any other way to kind of represent it at the moment.
Got it.
But the chariots, veer away, because this is an inhuman, unnatural. This is not of the wise, what they've seen, and they veer away to go get more reinforcements. So I get to choose 2. Others will come after you. So we're gonna deal with this as one final roll, I think, down to Salah, because he's at the sharp end of this, about can he get the stuff away before the second wave arrives. And I think also, I think you take harm appropriate to the enemy. I think you get run down by a chariot. Take 1 heavy wound.
Yeah, she's not doing great.
So the stuff is going through the warehouse to the wagons that are available at the back, which were going to be used to drive it to wherever the Mallet are storing this. So Salah, I think this is disarm, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I think this is about how do you get out before they come get you.
Could I potentially use my temple guards to do this, to use that followers move?
You could. I'm not entirely certain how both their tags would apply. I think drilled works, but I don't know how vicious helps you get this done quickly.
Because of my character and then also the move I chose, I also have 2 extra tags for these guys, rogues and
go on.
shadowy. So I'm imagining them like the more chariots are coming, but and maybe also to use that fleeting advantage, maybe we ambush them in a shadowy, dark sort of a narrow street where they can't use their advantage and their special metal to their advantage. So I'm hoping rogues and shadowy in that case would fit here in addition.
I
to the
think
rogue.
shadowy, you can have another one on top of that. Why not something like hardy, which would mean that you can, you're also shifting this stuff very quickly.
Okay, so change
and that would
rogues
allow
to hardy maybe.
yeah, I don't know if you need shadowy and rogues.
Okay,
Rogues is thieves, shadowy
Okay.
is operating out of the quiet, so there's your ambush bit. So
Alright.
I think therefore you can roll +2 for follow under orders.
okay. And then I'm hoping to use that fleeting advantage that Dan just gave me to get advantage. Roll
I
with
think
advantage.
that's very fair. Roll 3 dice, take the top 2. Is this going to work?
Okay, here we go. That's a 10.
Well, what do you know? On a 10, they do it, no problem. And the wagons are heading away from where they're supposed to go. So you can either add surplus raw materials. Well, no, you should.
I had
yeah.
a need, so I take it away, right?
Fine. Yeah, get rid of that need.
Okay.
And that's gone. That time has gone quite nicely. We're 3 minutes past the hour. I'm going to suggest we take our first break until 10 past the hour. Okay, and then we'll do a quick round of house moves and go next place. See you in a bit. So we're back after that successful heist. Raw materials have been removed from the map. And I think you are right to say, we had a brief chat offline, I think that is another mark on the doom for the project. Because given the amount of weight that I kind of threw into that fictionally, I think that the loss of that, well, its failure to arrive, I think is the effect of a doom on the project. And so what I want to do is just have a zoom out. I think I know what Gerald is doing in advance, which is kind of what Gerald's been doing for the last couple of zoom ins, really, which is just prepping the ground for the great battle. Is that fair, Gerald?
That is fair.
So let me ask Elena and Kassie. Let me start with Kassie. Kassie, you've succeeded. You're on your way back from the Riverlands to the great city. You don't know of this greater doom. What are you thinking that Kassie is doing, if anything, that might have an impact on the house move that we're about to do a round of?
Well, her, if I remember correctly, she didn't get the technology, but she got engineers.
She did.
Did I make a note of that on my?
Yes, they're in your resources list.
Yeah. So I think her main concern is to get these engineers safely home or back to the great city to begin. Actually, maybe she needs to go somewhere else where they're going to begin working on building these machines. And it's not going to be at the great city. It's going to be somewhere else. And I don't know where.
Okay, so I think that's fine. That she's very concerned to make sure they get there safely. I will need you to think about where you want them to go, because we need to attach a location if they're not going to live anywhere. And I think that the way I would play that would be that you will have advantage on the logistics move to take them from where they are in the Riverlands to where you want them to be based. Fair enough?
Yeah. Can I add a place to the map?
Well, what have you got in mind?
I think that maybe there's a small town at the foot of the top of the world that's not so far away from the Riverlands, but is plentiful in terms of the resources, and maybe is an outpost where we keep some of our lumber, where they can start to work on these machines.
Okay,
so does that sound right?
Yeah, that's fine. I think I'm just, there we are. Control-C, Control-V. I will just pop that down somewhere, probably in a position where it can have a river communication background to the
great city.
Yeah. So I've popped it on the map Yeah, so okay. And you can come up with a name with it for it in your own time, and I will add something to the map between sessions. So so that's where they're heading. Okay. So and bear that in mind because I'm thinking logistics. Fine. Elena, what about you? In terms of what you might want the curse to do next, is there something that Elena has been doing that would be the prep for that in some way or advantage it in some way?
Well, she's mainly been in a support position, supporting other people's efforts until now. But I think the appearance of the sorry, going into notes, the marauding serpents that we dealt with the last time, I think she's very concerned about that because she personally and definitely her group has had experience with them in the past. And it reminds her of a very dark part of their history, one that she was hoping the other factions would never hear about. She is thinking about finding out what, if they're an actual threat, if they're coming, if they're not, what's going on with this marauding serpents group.
Okay, well, I think currently you have leader marked as your role.
Yes.
I think there are two ways this play. One, I think it's an option for you to now mark champion when you're sent to scout out your opposition. Yeah. So keep leader marked, because once it's marked, it stays marked. And once all four of them are marked, you retire. So I think that works, and I think that would give you advantage to read the wind as a house move, to find out a bit more about them. And then we can think about how we're going to deal with investigating them, maybe as a zoom in or whatever. I don't know, but we'll see what's what and whatnot. Let me go to the Shining Path. Sorry, so Cheryl, you've got fleeting advantage on the battle to come. Dan, you've got fleeting advantage on logistics. Alex, you have fleeting advantage on finding out a bit more about these marauding serpents. Salah was in the zoom in, so it's irrelevant for now. Fine, okay. I tell you what I'm going to do, though. I think that the fact that Doom now exceeds progress on the project, and the fact that I've been warning the Great City about food riots for a while now, I think there are food riots in the Great City. I am going to increase turmoil by 1, because I think that things are all getting a bit sketchy. So all that in mind, let's go round and start with Chisel and Mallet. Under some pressure. Do you have a house move in mind? Do you have some house level activity in mind that we'll worry about the move in a bit?
Well, you were urging me to do logistics, and I had another idea.
I'm very happy for you to do 2 things, right?
Okay, as Alex changed roles as well.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if it gave me an idea that maybe Kassie checks Rogue, because one reason why she wants to bring the engineers to this town is that she is seeking allies to bring a corrupt leader down. And she is heard now through the grapevine of all of the failures of the current leadership of the Chisel and Mallet, and how they're not able to pull resources together or quell the food riots and things like that. So I would like to check Rogue and say that she's going to this town as a way to kind of gather other clans together to bring down the corrupt leadership.
Oh,
does that sound okay?
That does. I just remind both of you that when you mark a new role, you get an advance, and somewhere down there, an advance is basically another character move, or +1 to a character stat. So bear that in mind. But let's get that logistics out of the way.
Yeah, but yes, in the meantime, she is logisticking.
So so the way this works is pick one for each point of mood below 0. So what's your current mood, Chisel and Mallet?
It's a great question. I think it's a +1. So I think we're doing okay mood wise.
Oh, then you are golden. And make a note that the engineers, when you've got a name for that settlement,
added it to the map. I'm calling it the Kassie.
Fine. Then mark that on the resources engineering at Kassie. Spot on. I'll come back round to you for another move. If see how the clock's going. Let me go next to Elena. What are the curse doing? We talked about read the wind, but don't let me bully you into that.
Well, the cursed, the food riots, that's a lot of the cursed. So because they tend to make up a large portion of the poor in this country now. So the cursed is very focused on many as I said, it's kind of a pseudo democracy, or at least they spend a lot of time in discussion with each other, and so this has obviously been brewing for quite some time, but it's kind of come to a pitch now, and enough of the representatives from enough of the groups are just saying, the time has come that we need to deal with this, and we need this to stop happening, because we're 20 years out now from the end of the empire. We should have our thing together by now, and this is ridiculous. So they want to make they want to fix this problem basically once and for all, if they can.
So what do we see on screen? Is this searching for a particular to meet a need? Is this looking for a surplus that might help on this? What do we see happening? In which case I'll interpret mechanically, or if you've got a specific idea.
I think after a long discussion, I'm guessing that there is no clear villain in this, that this is a structural issue.
So far, yeah. I mean, we've been getting hints that the Chisel and Mallet is not quite the unified organization that perhaps it presents to the world, and there is an army of the Imperial Dead out there, but I don't think you know yet what the Shining Path is up to.
Yeah. So
but somebody's causing some difficulties out there.
Yeah.
Because they're not just not getting better, things are getting worse.
Yeah. I think what the leaders of the cursed have been tasked to do by their representatives is to call a grand meeting at the grand feast and invite as many of the leaders of the other groups to the grand feast, and basically lock them in a room together and say, okay, you guys have to figure this out. This can't be happening anymore. We've only stuck around here because it's been good. So it's been good enough so far, but if we don't basically deal with this food insecurity issue, then we are out, and you're going to all lose the majority of your labor force. The cursed is going to move on to another land, and because we're by nature we haven't set down strong roots here yet. So this is something you have to do. We all have to deal with, or or we're taking our things and going home.
Fine. So we throw a festival once per season. You roll plus nearby surpluses. Now, unfortunately, I'm assuming that you want to put this event in Al Tariq, or am I wrong?
Or is it the great city?
That's what I'm wondering.
No, I think the great city is the great city's not associated with any one faction, is it?
Not particularly, no.
Yeah, I think that would they would think that would be a better choice, because they don't want any one faction to, they want to make all factions equally.
Fine.
They don't want to give one a position of leadership.
So celebrating something from your source culture or cultures. What is the focus of this celebratory weekend that ends in the feast?
I think that that it is a I think it is a celebration of continuity and of perseverance and of survival, and that we recognize the sacrifices that our ancestors have made so that we could be here, and that the elders should be honored, which is their sneaky way of getting the elders of all the other factions to be, honored guests in this feast.
That works for me.
Yeah.
And based on what you've been saying, it says, say how the festival finds new expression in this land. It sounds like it's almost a shift from this is where we've been. You seem to be now saying to people, you need to look to the future. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. You have no surpluses that you can call on in the great city. In fact, all your surpluses are dispersed. So you are rolling +0 cursed. But oh yeah, the work of Elena doesn't play into this one, so you don't get advantage on this one.
Hey, look at that.
Who needs anything when you roll 2 6s? Okay, so on a 10+, pick 2. You and anyone who joins the celebrations gain surplus morale. Within the bounds of the festival, the Arbiter's laws will not be enforced. Within the bounds of the festival, magic follows the laws of another land. Which 2 would you like to be true?
The magic follows the laws of another land, and the surplus morale, I think.
Who attends? Does
Salah was there.
Oh, so the Shining Path sends representatives. Turns out Salah's in the group, and a surprisingly large number of temple guards. Dan, do the Chisel and Mallet send representatives to the festival?
Of course, we need all the PR we can get.
Okay, so both the Shining Path and the Chisel and Mallet, you get to get surplus morale, and the Jezdec. We have a face for the Jezdec, whose name I have to say at the moment escapes me. Ashugambu.
Yeah.
Ashugambu. Is Ashugambu at the battle, or is Ashugambu at the feast?
Oh, you're tempting me with something here. So while I kind of want the surplus of morale. My initial thought is that they would snub it, because with an army of undead approaching, they would feel like, seriously, you're going to go have a big feast when this thing is happening. That I was leaning there. However, I've been positioning Jarrell as being kind of an old school, like back to our ways sort of and that the current leadership is not that. So I think I am going to say that the current leader does attend, and that will drive some fiction later, I think, about why did our leader go there when we have this thing happening up here. Salah is
Fine.
rubbing off on me.
So go ahead, add morale. And magic follows laws of another land. I guess that might then open the option for a different look at some of these house moves, or maybe because this is going to run for a little while, the festival, it runs for a whole week. So I think that maybe there's still some options going on here about what could happen, depending on when we turn the season. So I'm inclined at that point to simply go straight to the Jezdec and say house move in advance of the zoom in for the battle.
So yes and no. So I have a house move, but I think that it has to be enacted by the character. I have the house move, which is the strength of the mare, which is a ritual. But it says when the character enacts the ritual. But if we're going to zoom in, can we do this before the battle or at the character level?
I think we do it as part of a zoom in.
Okay.
Because usually the rituals are operating at that relatively small scale, I think.
Yeah, and so I'm hesitant to do something that's going to screw with my roles of late. I'm hesitant to do anything that's going to screw up the battle, but I feel like perhaps that there would be something. So the fleeting advantage I have based on participating at the house level, or at the not participating at the character level, is going to go at the battle, right? Or is it going to go?
It has to be to a house move. It's fleeting advantage on a house move. So for instance, you would get fleeting advantage to read the wind.
And that's the one I was thinking. So let's do that. So
Okay.
I think as part of all of these things, you know, what I'm after here is information that will help. I guess I have to, yeah. So I think narratively speaking, read the wind makes sense to me, because we would have scouts out there, you know, looking at where would be the right place to confront the enemy, etc. That all that sort of stuff. So
let's have you roll with advantage plus reach. 3 dice, take the top 2, add reach.
okay, let me quick look. I don't remember what my reach is. Oh, come on, Google. There we go. 0. So that was all right.
Just as well, you got 3 dice to play with.
Just as well. And giddy up.
That is a 6.
That is exactly why I didn't want to do a move.
Shucks. So on a 6, I am going to raise turmoil as a reaction to that, because you know, there's some discussion at the feast about what the leader is here, but most of the troops are not. Normally he comes with this big retinue. He's turned up with a small group. What's going on with the Jezdec? Turmoil increases to 4 compared to control of 5. So the land is getting very wobbly at the moment, it seems. I'm going to pause the house moves at that point because I want to start the zoom in, and then we'll do another house move at the end, if that's okay. Jason, were you going to?
Can I do one?
Oh, sorry, you didn't. I haven't come
didn't
to
do
you.
one, yeah.
No, you are owed one.
Okay, I'll make it quick. So I think we established I was going to, in parallel with the heist, there was also an operation to grab the marble.
Yes.
That's also in the great city.
So is this seized by force?
Yeah, and I'm going to use the fleeting advantage from
The prep.
from Dan's zoom in. So rolling with advantage plus 0. So I'll just go right to it. That's a 7.
So that's a 7 on seize.
It works. I have to choose
force.
2, and I'd like to choose 2 more points of turmoil if I may.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I mean, chaos reigns. 2 more points of turmoil takes us to 5 and 5, or
And
is it
I
6
think
and
it
5 now?
6 and 5, yeah.
6
So I
and
think
5.
when turmoil exceeds control once per age, it increases doom.
It does. So I'm going to mark the 4th doom.
Now, also in stealing the marble, I wonder if that also increases doom.
I think it does.
Now, I don't want to immediately end the age. I want to have our chance to have.
Oh
our
yeah, no,
fight.
we will come to that. In effect, we will turn the season into turn the age.
Okay.
We'll turn the season and turn the, or we'll turn the age, then we'll turn the season, because this age has lasted 1 season, the spring. So let us zoom in to the Jezdec confronting the army of Imperial Dead. As I think I said, I don't see any way to do this other than, Joe, do you want to seek one of the Arbiter's agents as support?
Yeah, I think it would make a lot of sense for there to be an arbiter agent, and I think there's a specific. Do I get to pick which one?
You do.
I think there's a warrior type one. I think that makes a lot of sense.
The Fist. The
Indeed.
Fist of the Wise. Your blood-curdling reputation precedes you when you fiercely assault with the goal of driving off your enemies. Roll with advantage. Is there anyone that you want to offer that to, or do you want to leave it to the other 3 to decide whether they want to pick it up? They don't have to pick it up.
Yeah, I guess I don't have anybody in particular, so whoever
is there anyone who wants to play the Fist of the Wise rather than a Jezdec quick character? Alex, I don't think you've played, because let me think. Joe has played an agent. Jason has played an agent. You haven't, neither has Dan.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay, well, if you go to the Wise tab, you will find on column BC details of the Fist. One who solves problems with violence, bashing heads, and simply exuding threat. So that means Dan and Jason, you're going to create a couple of Jezdec quick characters.
I think I could make an argument why Salah would be there.
I don't think the timing works.
Oh, okay.
You know, if he's setting up the heist, doing the
Well,
heist.
let me lay
and
this
then-
out to you and see if it works. I think we see Salah, because after having stolen all this stuff, he was going to march it across this plane to the top of the world. And I think he has a vision. I have this power in my inheritance.
go
I have
on.
a reliquary. And I think the spirit of my mother tells me to go and help them and sends me that way. The reason I'm pressing for this might trigger my outsider role.
Okay,
to-
no, yes, but I think that probably you are going to arrive at the point where, you know, everybody else is going to have a go
Sounds good.
before you do. Yeah,
Sure.
and so you might be stuck with having to do something inappropriate.
Right.
So that means then, Alex, you're setting up the Fist. Dan, you're putting up a quick character. And there are no gear points to spend. So yeah, it is what it is. Swift and luxury horses, astute spiritual followers, and practical, flexible outfit, and an elegant melee weapon, whatever that might be. I think we've seen Gerald using a kind of elegantly arranged lance in confrontations. I've just noticed your note in the chat, Dan. I didn't realize how much self-sabotage would be in this game.
What?
I didn't realize how much sabotage would be in this game.
What? Okay, might or bravery. I'm making a quick character. Is that
Fine, go
all
ahead.
right?
And Alan, I don't know when this is appropriate. I think we maybe talked about it being post or whatever, but like the role move relative to leader. I was going to make a play that with the leader of the house going there instead of preparing for war, that I was going to kind of pitch that he could take that role.
I think that Gerald, the old warrior, becomes the tip of the spear. So by all means, when your house's misfortune brings them down to your level, say what new opportunities are available if they follow you. I'm guessing you're pitching it. We will put the Imperial Dead back in the ground.
And sort of a return to glory, right? Like,
Yeah.
We've kind of established that, like, they keep sending scouts into this area and they die, right? I mean, and it's this weakness that we've allowed to infiltrate our ranks.
And I'm required to say, who feels most resentment at your house's fall in status? I think that it's Asher Gambu, young Asher Gambu. So I think Clan Gambu could be a thorn in your side.
And Alan, I've marked outsider for me, justified decision. I think the spirits of my mother has told me to come here, but then you get to say what my independence costs me.
Yes, I think it is going to cost you. I think it's going to cost you those temple guards.
They don't follow my lead here.
No.
Okay.
Is
that a permanent thing, or do you think that's just a temporary type? We're going to change age anyways.
I think that's permanent until
okay.
The fiction suggests that there's a reason that you're back in the fold. Okay. So what I'll do, I wonder if this will work. I've never tried this. No, it doesn't work. I thought I could put a line through the origin over there in the first column, and it would somehow crop up over here, but it doesn't.
I'll just make a note.
Yeah,
temple guards not following.
So let us now then. We have a fist. Now there's always a question that goes along with it with one of the agents. When you begin playing the fist, say who the arbiter wants you to weaken, intimidate, or hurt. Who does the arbiter want? Who do the wise want? Weakened, intimidated, or hurt, Alex?
Well, I mean, it's I am tempted to just make it the threat that we're facing, because
yeah, can I
think that represents an existential threat to the whole society that they've created, and so
can I broaden it a bit?
Yeah.
So it's not just this army of Imperial Dead, it's Imperial remnants. So if other Imperial remnants crop up, that would explain why the fist is hot to trot. Does that?
And I think especially because there's a supernatural element here. The wise are particularly, they're happy to take a more like frontline direct role in this, because this is something that is a threat to them existentially.
Yeah, well, let me then add a little bit of fresh flesh here, because the wise have a reaction move that says something like reveal stuff about the past, reveal a forgotten truth of the land. The reason that the wise are worried about this is that there used to be more than one monolith on the boundaries of the land. The statues that were erected on the principal boundaries of the land were placed there in the hope that they would be able to channel the power of the monoliths to protect the land. It's looking like they're not entirely working. So I'm just going to scribble down here, statues aren't as good as monoliths.
Alan, could I also make question you? I know that we've been trying to keep away from more fantastical or supernatural elements, but since we're facing a supernatural threat, would it be, I was thinking, would it be possible to have the fist be a supernatural creature as well?
Well, it says strange insights. I think that I would prefer if everyone kind of looks human, if I'm honest. And because
Okay.
there are things that happen in the game that can twist you when you use rituals. And so I'd rather have people twisted rather than be twisted. So I think that I'm very happy for him to be supernatural when we see him in action. I'm less happy for him to be not human in the appearance of the audience to start with.
I see.
I mean, did you have anything specific in mind?
Yes, but that's,
Well, go on, tell me what you
that
had in
goes,
mind.
that goes against everything you were saying, so
Well, then what did you have in mind? Go on.
I was thinking that he could be a type of golem, actually,
Oh, that's fine by me.
made out of wood.
I don't have a problem with that because
Oh.
he's got this lined skin that he probably just looks like a really lined person. But when push comes to shove, we're going to see something that demonstrates that there is more to this man than meets the eye. Is that okay?
Or maybe he also wears a helmet that covers most of his face and makes it hard to...
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so because he has a tough practical outfit and a brutal melee weapon. And let me just check what brutal means in the game. The weapon devastates and terrifies foes. So I shall be interested to see how you fictionalize, narrate that. Okay. Look, I'm conscious that it's 10 to the hour. I think it would be worth taking 5 minutes now and then running without having a break mid-battle. Does that seem fair? Okay, so I'm going to pause. 5 to the hour. See you back here. Okay, back for our climactic third part today. I'm trying to think how to deal with the fact Salah is going to arrive late. I don't quite know how to do that yet, but I need to explain to anyone who looks at this, listens to this and thinks, hang on, none of these rules are in the book. That's because there are no real rules for zooming into a battle. There are rules for a battle between houses, but they're player character houses. This is an NPC group. And so I have customized some rules for battle from a game I'm designing called Yoke and so this is the first playtest of those rules, colleagues. So fingers crossed. So you will find a tab called Custom Battle. And the top and bottom of it here is that the Jezdec will start with a certain strength, the quality of the force that they've brought to the battle, which is equal to their grasp, which I think is 2. And you'll find that on the tab, strength of PC force 2. The enemy have 3 characteristics. They have advantageous position, advantageous numbers, and advantageous confidence. i.e. they're more confident than the PCs. And at the minute, all 3 of those conditions apply. The objective is to try and make the enemy less confident, reduce the number of numbers, and put them at a disadvantage in terms of their position on the battlefield. Because in the end, there is a move called Shatter Them, which is how you will end the battle. You will win the battle by setting up these preconditions and then hitting them hard. And if you can get them to not have position, not have numbers, not have confidence, jobs are good, and you will be rolling at more than -1, which is where you currently are. Yeah. And the way this works is that each of the characters that we have in play gets to do one of 4 things. Either they can spy out the land and therefore find a battlefield that advantages the Jezdec and disadvantages the Imperial Dead. They can seek to surprise the Imperial Dead by creating an ambush or a deception or something else, which means that though there may be lots of dead, not all of them get to the point of the spear. One of the player characters could seek to inspire the troops so that they have greater confidence than the dead. And then finally, one of them will actually lead the attack, get in the front row and try to deny them either position, numbers, or confidence, depending on what's left. And then that will set up the preconditions, and then we'll get into a description of the battle, which is largely narrative, with a bit of activity for every character, and then try to shatter them. So I think the way I'm going to play this is that only 3 of you are going to be able to be involved in those pre-setup moves. Salah is going to arrive into the battle, not be there at the start of the battle. And so while Salah is likely to face some difficulties in the battle, he's not going to be in a position necessarily to advantage the force in advance, okay? So my first question is, spy out the land is driven by bravery, surprise is driven by cunning, inspire them is driven by law, and lead them is driven by might. So I need to ask which of you, Joe, Dan, Alex, which of you feels that you are best suited as a character to which one of those?
Alan, just a quick clarifying question. Can we pick this? Can different people pick the same one twice? Or
No.
do we each have, we all have to pick a different one?
Yep.
Okay. I had created a quick character named Vang, who I had imagined actually as a contemporary of Joe's
Gerald?
character, Gerald, and we were comrades in the rebellion, but we sort of each went a different way. Whereas Gerald is a little bit more of a loner, I sense. He took a little bit more of a military leadership. Vang took more of a military leadership role. Joe, does that sound okay?
I love it, because that was fictionally how I was going to use a call on aid later if I needed to, because it worked. I thought that worked brilliantly for the fiction. So
Okay, good. So, and I lay that out now because I gave Vang both bravery and might, but not lore. And I think he's more of a lead them kind of guy, but I can also see him being a spy out the land kind of guy.
well, so Jarrell has a +2 to bravery. So while narratively, I was originally thinking it made more sense for him to take the lead them, mechanically, it seems to make more sense for the spy out the land. So I don't know, Alan, how that if ultimately, if say Vang does lead them, and Jarrell does spy out the land, does that have any impacts relative to Jarrell's kind of purported desire?
None, absolutely none.
Okay, so I think
There's a difference between being in command and leading them.
yeah. So I'll if nobody has any objections, I'll take spy out the land.
Alex, what about our fist?
Well, I really want to bring its role move into it in some way.
Go on.
You know, so use that, the strange insights. So if I'm not going to be doing the spying move, then I think, sorry, just so many tabs.
And so little time.
Yeah. I guess I'll try to surprise them.
Okay. So let me just check that I've understood where we are with because you are going to start with +2 in might.
Oh, I do?
Yeah, if you look at the fist, you'll see there on row 7, +2 might, +1 bravery, 0 in cunning, -1 in law.
Sorry, I missed that.
Okay, so if you want to kind of put those in, because then the wise brings an inheritance move to the table, which is add 1 to either bravery or law.
And which one is associated with bravery?
Bravery is spy out the land.
Okay,
And
let's do that then.
well, I think Gerald has already bagged that, and
Oh,
given
sorry.
his zoom in, I feel obliged to go with it.
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry.
So the question is, cunning or law is what you're looking at. Surprise or inspire.
Well, lures are the -1, so I feel like I would be playing to my weaknesses there. So let's do the cunning.
Fine. Okay, so there's the fist. So and they happen in a certain order. So we begin with spy out the land. So this is going to Gerald. Tell me what we see. What is Gerald's first sight of the army of the Imperial Dead? What is it? What does it look like?
So I kind of I think maybe that they come up over a rise, right? And the army of the dead are moving through some sort of like valley, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just massive, right? Like it's bigger than they had. I like the idea that it's like bigger than they had even imagined. And that they also can see the blight that is following the land on the land. And so yeah, I kind of like that
works for me. So let's have you spy out the land and see if you can pick a good place to challenge the Imperial Dead.
And I'll just real quick before I do that, Alan, when would we want to do the ritual piece? Is that after this?
When you think it's helpful.
Well, so narratively, my thought is that maybe Vang and Gerald being old comrades, because I may need to lean on aid from Vang. And maybe the since it's this strength of the mare ritual that they like on the eve. My thought was on the eve of the battle, they ride out into the steppe somewhere, right, where and they perform this ritual. So and then I'm also trying to figure out like what it doesn't really say like what you get. I mean, so here's what I want. I want to
what do you want?
Well, mechanically. So what I want is I was really struck by the one that says that you can open a gate to the pastures of your ancestors and call forth a steed of legend.
Who doesn't want a steed of legend?
Right.
A steed of legend who knows the land.
Yeah. So I guess I don't care when we do it. I just kind of want to get that in there.
Let's do that now. Let's enact a ritual.
Okay. So he is at 0 for lore. So I think he's just a straight up 2d6.
Let's do that thing.
Oh, please. I told you already how much I really want this to be successful.
That's a 6. Would you
call
like
for
to
call for aid? Call for aid. Old friend Vang.
We're always so bad at this. What? How many times have we done this ritual? How many times have we marched into battle together, and yet you cannot get the gesture?
Another example of the fracturing of our heritage, right? We can't even get our rituals right.
If maybe you stuck around a little bit more, you would know the right words to say. Hang on.
What are you gonna do, Van?
I think I will help, and I will help by getting the words right this time. And hang on. I think if it's okay with you, I would like to say that part of this is approaching, because this is a mare, the ritual of the mare. I imagine this is a wild horse, and that you have to approach this ritual with a tremendous amount of self-confidence and
Bravery, for instance.
Yes, bravery, for instance. Thanks.
Because this requires Veng to step into the pastures of our ancestors
Again,
and beckon the horse forth. Roll plus bravery, Veng.
well, I rolled great for other people's houses, I guess. So I rolled an 11.
Oh, gee whiz. So that turns the fail into a 7 to 9 on an act of ritual. So I pick one blessing on 7 to 9, and I always pick one bane. So which blessing do you want? The magic does exactly what you desire, no more, no less. And what I'm thinking is this is going to give you advantage on the move. The magic is far more powerful than normal. The surge of power heals a flesh wound, doesn't apply. Select 2 banes, but I can't pick any. You gain fleeting advantage. Well, you're kind of heading there anyway. You gain an insight into your tutor's current state, the state of the land. Don't know.
All right, so I'm looking at the banes because
If you select 2 of them, I don't get to select any. Otherwise, I do select.
I don't have a huge problem with any of those banes, so I'll let you select. So I kind of like the idea that the magic is far more powerful than normal.
And that, I think, means that every Jezdec will get the benefits, some of the benefits of this steed of legend. Yeah, in the battle. But I think this warps your body in some way. You are now a centaur. You are part of the beast of legend, the steed of legend. Okay? But you get, you get the insight of this steed of legend to help you roll with advantage to spy out the land, because the steed knows the land inside out.
Okay, so now we're doing
Now we're
Layout.
doing
lay of the land.
lay of the land.
Okay, I feel like I'm hogging everything here. So
No, you're okay.
all right. What is that with?
That is with bravery.
That is 11 then.
Wow.
No. It's sorry, I looked at the total 7. It's 9.
9, that's okay. So on 7+, describe a feature of the battlefield that benefits your force and denies the enemy the advantageous position. Is there a ford or ditch that they have to cross to attack you? Do you hold the high ground? Do you protect one end of your position with a marsh or some other difficult or impassable terrain? Or is there some other feature that you want to describe?
So first thought was maybe there's just sort of a bottleneck type, where that they have to go through. But then I was also thinking along the lines of, is there maybe a feature? I was thinking maybe is there some sort of feature or something that affects them being that they are an army of the dead. I was just trying to think like some part of the land maybe that like weakens their, or something, right? Like whether it's a mystical feature of some sort that weakens them in some way.
Well, I mean, I've got a suggestion for you.
Perfect.
And that is that you force them to come a certain way, because there's a part of this plane or this area which was particularly sacred in the time before the empire, back in the olden days, in ancient times, sacred to the horses. and they won't cross it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So I'm going to
It's
say that
beautiful.
the battlefield is edged with sacred ground. Fair?
Fair enough.
Okay. I think we go next to the Fist of the Wise. The Fist of the Wise, you are looking for how you can set up an ambush or deception that misleads them or denies them the benefit of numbers. So maybe you can find a way to divide them or channel them in so you're only ever facing a certain number of them or something like that. Ambush or deception. What have you got in mind?
Ambush. I feel like it would be in character for the wise to have a great understanding of the land itself. And the fist is aware that there are marshes here that are not immediately visible. It just looks like rolling land, but it is in fact very boggy land with large. There are these pits of a very muddy soil that make it hard for large groups of people to trample through them without getting stuck. And
let's see how it goes then. Roll plus
the wise
cunning.
is trying to lead the dead towards these marshes.
Let's see
So
whether this is.
I'm
you're
rolling
plus
plus
cunning.
Cunning, so that's just +1 for me.
And I'm just there. There's your move. That one about
Yeah.
each minute you spend observing an inhuman creature, ask the GM one of the following: what does it most want? What's hurting it? What can I sense? What can it sense that I can't?
Yeah.
Do you want to do that, or do you want to leave that until you're in the thick of it?
Let's wait until that we're in the thick of it, since
Fine.
we're still in the preparation stages
We are.
here.
So let's have you roll plus cunning. Wise schmize. That is all of 4.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you want to call on for help here?
No.
No, because that would be embarrassing, wouldn't it, for the Fist of the Wise?
Yeah.
Okay, so on a 6, the GM will say how your foe benefits from numbers due to your failure and holds 1 to spend to put you at disadvantage when you face mortal danger in the thick of it. So you are convinced that you are funneling the army towards these bogs, but it's going to come and bite you on the arse later on.
Makes sense.
Okay, finally then, no one does the inspiring speech, but we are going to go to Veng. When one of the PCs takes their place in the front rank and charges the enemy, roll plus might.
Since it's taken me 4 sessions to try and game this game, I wonder if I could use my followers to gain an advantage on leading them. I've got followers because we're Jezdec. My followers are astute and spiritual.
Yeah, and spiritual means that you have a sense of the land.
Right. And astute means we are maybe aware of kind of what would be inspiring to people.
I tell you what, I think that what you realize is that there is somebody or a small number of figures in the army of the dead that whole chunks of them are following those leaders. And so this may be a question of whether you can inspire people or lead people to get to them.
Okay.
That you could, decapitate the army, maybe.
I see. So what my hope was that I would roll with my followers, and that would then gain me advantage. I could use that to gain advantage on.
I'm going to give you advantage for the fact that your steed now has features of a steed of legend, because you are Jezdec.
Oh yeah, I already have advantage for that.
Rock and roll.
I'm not a centaur, but so am I. No. Should I just roll straight for lead them?
You should roll with advantage for lead them. Yes.
All right, let's do that. And I'm rolling plus might, which gives me a +1.
God knows we can use every help we can get.
Magic steeds are great. Holy moly, I squeaked it out with a 7.
Wow. So on a 7+, describe how your example denies the foe position, numbers, or confidence. So what are you, numbers are already taken out the picture. Do you want this to affect, positions taken out. Do you want this to affect the numbers, i.e. that you are focusing, you're telling people, focus on those 8 banners?
Yeah.
Or are you just screaming, we are mounted on the lead steeds of legend, charge? Which one?
I think it's definitely, I'm picturing Vang as sort of a Theoden figure, very inspiring, and that just by virtue of saying these things and having done the ritual with Gerald, it appears as if we are all mounted on magic steeds, and the charge is overwhelming even to a paranormal army.
And even those members of the pilgrims who joined, who Gerald brought to the battlefield, even they appear to be mounted on these steeds. So we are left with the enemy has numbers on you, unsurprisingly, maybe given the circumstances, but you outconfidence and you outposition them. So you are rolling to shatter them on a +1, but not before each of you. Salah arrives. Battle is joined. What do we see of Salah as he launches into this?
I think Salah, I want to enact my ritual.
Do that thing.
Yeah, similar to what Dan described during the fight in the city. Kind of, he's lit up with brilliant light. So let me do that thing. Rolling with +1. That's a 10.
That is a 10 on a 10+. It does roughly what you want, so it is going to place you at advantage in the confrontation you're about to have with some of the dead.
Okay.
Pick 2 blessings.
All right. I already got advantage, you said. So are Banes good things or bad things? I don't know why would you select Banes?
You don't.
Okay.
Select 2 Banes, so I don't get to pick.
I see.
It gives you a choice of which Banes.
And just a note for my character, because of my house, I have a different set of Banes.
Oh, you
You'll
do?
find one of my
Yeah.
moves. Yeah. I'll say it's more powerful than normal. And I'll select 2 Banes. How about we do that?
Okay. So which Banes do you want in place?
A disquieting and unnatural phenomenon warps the area, and all present know exactly what it is you worship. That sounds fun.
Fine. Okay. So Salah, what do we see? Do you don't have any transport per se, do you?
Nope, just my 2 feet.
So you see this kind of, this is.
Oh no, I do have a humble steed, sorry.
Oh, you have a humble steed. So I'm seeing the mounted force of the Jezdec. This is, Theoden Hal's charge, isn't it? This is the charge of the Rohirrim, down into the army of the dead. And you're coming in from one side, alone, kind of on your humble steed, charging into this. And is that when we begin to see this light effect?
Right. I think similar to us linking into Theoden's charge. I think even like in the movie when I think it's actually Éomer when he comes into Helm's Deep, Gandalf is there and he lights up, the battlefield. Yes.
The sun rises behind them. Love it. And so, the horde of the Jezdec charge down, and then the sun rises behind to one side, and there is a lone figure I'm now seeing the start of a bit of Lawrence of Arabia, where there's this kind of heat haze figure that just begins to emerge, and then bang, we discover that it is not the sun behind him. He is emitting this light. Fine. And so everybody knows that somebody from the Shining Path is on site. Disquieting warping of the area. I think that it's almost as though the ground ripples away from you. As you move towards this, the ground is rippling, and I think there may be a long-term effect.
Mhm.
Okay, let us go to the fist. The fist, you are going to encounter a one of these leaders among the dead, some legionary commander from back in the day, leading a kind of wedge of warriors. Him. You were looking for this boggy ground, and you were confident where it was. And so you charge straight to, taking the line of least resistance, the dry ground, just as you expect them to just get bogged down. And it doesn't happen. And that puts you at disadvantage because of their numbers. Do you have anything that could cancel that disadvantage?
Can I give him my fleeting advantage that I earned from the 10 plus on the ritual?
If you
Or
wanted
could I bring in the strange insights here?
Well, exactly so. Exactly so. What strange insight would give you advantage here, Fist?
I think I could get an advantage by that I understand what its maybe not ultimate, but its current objective is, and can therefore use that to my advantage by et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, you realize that that all of these wedges of the dead are actually focused on the centaur previously known as Geralt. That if they can take out this steed of legend, that would win the day, I think. So that will cancel the disadvantage you would have faced. You also get an advantage because you have a blood-curdling reputation. So fiercely assault with advantage.
Okay, this couldn't possibly go wrong. Well, look at that. 13.
That looks like 13 to me. 13 on fiercely assault. How do we see you? Because you've got this brutal weapon. What does this brutal weapon do to this sub-commander of the dead? Feel free to write yourself into myth and legend.
I think the brutal weapon is basically almost like a tree in and of itself that he wields like a maul.
Do you want that branch to grow out from the end of his armor, demonstrating his treeness?
Sure, that sounds fine.
And what do we see you doing with this, these arms that are tree trunks suddenly?
He uses it to he can use it to position the soldiers well, versus he can hold off. It's used more defensively, and then he can control the battle space. So all of a sudden he cuts off the enemy and exposes the leaders so that they can be taken down more easily. He cuts them off from their support. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so you get to pick two. Avenue of escape is clear. Inflict savage, terrifying harm and frighten your foes. Scavenge a useful piece of gear in the aftermath, or learn something useful, ask a question, get fleeting advantage acting on it.
Well, I think the savage the savage thing is
That's what it sounded like to me. So there's one.
that's what it sounded like to me. Yeah. And sorry, where are you reading this from?
I'm sorry, this is back on the character moves, fiercely assault. Avenue of
Sorry.
escape.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. I just see which. Savage, terrifying harm, and a useful piece of gear, I think.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, just make a note of a useful piece of gear, and we'll talk about what the fist is taking from the battlefield related to the Imperial Dead later.
Can I make this on the fist tab? I mean, on
Oh
the,
yeah,
on
yeah,
the,
yeah. Put
the
it
wise
in,
tab.
Yeah, put it on the fists. Yeah, the wise tab. Absolutely. Let us go next to. Dan's not with us, so we're going to go. I was hoping to go to Joe last. I'm honest.
I'm here. I'm just my camera stopped working.
Oh, fine. Right. So let's Dan go to Veng. Veng is going to face, a mortal danger here. What does he face, and how does he overcome it?
I think keeping with his sort of leadership spin, he maybe faces a large group of these folks and is being overwhelmed by them. But because he commands such loyalty, his followers kind of come remove him from this mad mob of undead soldiers.
And it's clear, I think, that Veng is interposing himself between their objective to get to Gerald, and again being, supporting Gerald. So let us have you. Is this disarm with bravery, or fiercely assault with might?
I think it's disarm.
Fine. Using brave heroics, wading in among them, diverting the flow of these creatures. Let us have you roll with bravery. Is there any you're all mounted on steeds of legend, so you roll with advantage even if there's nothing else in play.
Well, I've already rolled 2 d6 and I rolled those very poorly, so I'm going to add another d6 to the mix. And I rolled a 6 on that one. So 6 plus 2 plus 1 is 9.
9. Do you want to call for aid to try and turn that into a 10?
I'm good.
Okay, so on a 7 to 9, you bought some time, but choose one. Safety demands a sacrifice. I say what? It's only temporary and the danger will soon return. The danger's still present, but threatening someone or something else.
I mean, I feel like unless there's another need for Vang going forward, him dying to protect his old comrade feels like this is that time in the movie.
I think that's fantastic because it allows us to activate a death move. When you die, gain 3 more hold. Spend it when you wish to give another character's role advantage. Each beneficiary says how your memory inspired them.
Oh yeah.
So we've got 3 of those in the back pocket as we now focus on Gerald. Gerald, they've overwhelmed Ven. He went down fighting, he broke up that attack, but they're still coming for you.
And there was, sorry to interject, there was a parting glance between Vang and Gerald as Vang is being pulled from his horse and overwhelmed by the ravenous birds.
And, disappears under the wave of dead. Of course there was. What happens next, Gerald?
I think there has to be sort of a, as in if we're channeling the Lord of the Rings, there has to be some sort of like high commander sort of, and I guess, to bring this home, that they would face each other in a final, like cinematically, the hope would be is that Drell would defeat the, and maybe that in defeating this focal point for the rest of the army would sort of just kind of maybe dissipate or whatever.
So let's see how you survive this confrontation, fighting to get to the top, the legionary commander who is leading the dead. Veng has created opening. You've now got his bodyguards to get through. Is there any reason why I should give you advantage? Yes, there is, because you are a steed of legend.
I'm a steed of legend.
So
Yep.
roll with advantage plus might.
Yep. So this is fiercely assault, I assume.
It is. It is.
What else would it be? But I got +1 on might, so let's see what we can do here. 11. Yes.
Will you look at that? You choose 2 and I choose 1.
All right. So I'm flipping back and forth.
Yeah.
Crazy between tabs here, so hang on. I don't know if anybody else's moves as slowly between as mine, but in the spirit, in honor of Alan, I'll say it's probably the Mac I'm using that is causing it to flip back and forth so slowly. I think obviously we will inflict savage and terrifying harm.
What does that look like as you make your way towards the High Commander?
Yeah, I think we see him, he makes his eye contact with Vang, and it, in the spirit of like old warriors, it stiffens his resolve, right? It's honorable to die in battle this way, right? So, while he will miss his old comrade, it stiffens his resolve, and he, you see him charge at the commander, and I think he has sort of I like the idea of some sort of large curved blade of some sort, right? And maybe it's just a beheading, right? Maybe that's and maybe you see a scene.
Well, let me just, because you will have you will get shatter them at the end.
Okay.
So this is to get to him.
Oh, okay.
So this is going through the bodyguards, just you and a V of your prime warriors, just slicing through these guys. So that's savage, terrifying harm. What's the other one you want?
If I do the learn something useful, ask a question, get fleeting advantage, would that work on the would we be able to use that on the shatter?
At this point in the battle, I'm going to start stacking advantage.
Okay. Yeah, I think, well, yeah, no, that, because avenue of escape is clear doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So let's learn something useful. And I think maybe it's, what maybe it has to do with what he needs to do to defeat the commander, something like that. So
right, yes, fine. You do have to behead the commander. All of these animated dead are in the end being run from that single individual. Yeah.
Yep. Or you have to cut that ring off his finger or something like that.
And I am going to inflict a heavy wound on you to do it while you do it.
Excellent.
What's your wound status at the moment?
2. I think he's got 2 flesh wounds and 1 heavy wound.
Oh, so there's 1 heavy left in the pot. Okay. So that is the final situation then. You've got through these individual confrontations. You've done what you can. We are now at shatter them. And because you have removed position, removed confidence, they still have the numbers. You are going to be rolling Shatter Them with +1. And I'm going to go to Joe for this one because Gerald's the zoom in center.
All right. So did you say advantage? And
You
it's
have
+1?
advantage. You have advantage because you're a steed of legend. I am going to let you burn one of the inspirational advantages from Veng. You can roll 4 dice and take the top 2.
Eight.
8. Gee whiz.
Can you call for 8 on that one, or that doesn't apply here?
You could, I think, if you wanted to. I mean, on a 7+, you shatter the enemy force. They are at your mercy. Are you merciful, or do you destroy them? So on a 7+, you're going to be okay. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You're just not going to get a benefit out of it, any other benefit out of it. So on a 7+, I want each of you to tell me something that illustrates how this lot go down. We know that Gerald beheads the legionary commander. Dan, as we see Veng's body on the battlefield, probably next to his dead horse, tell me something about the way in which this army is destroyed.
It's not destroyed so much as maybe sent back to where they came from.
Okay, so
and now they have a new leader because Vang 2 rises.
Oh my!
Emerging in whatever kind of spiritual form. I was picturing them as ghostly, but maybe they were more skeleton-y. And part of their vanquish is that he leads them back to where they.
Oh my goodness me, Veng the Undead. Will you write on the character keeper, Veng the Undead? Because Veng the Undead has got to come back somewhere. Alex, what about the Fist of God from the Fist of the Wise? What perspective do we get on the battle from the Fist?
The Fist is trying to eliminate as many of the dead as possible. So they're trying to just take out all the stragglers, as many of the stragglers as they can.
I like that. Even though now they are not much of a target, the objective of the Wise is to have as few of them get back to the place of the bones as possible. I love that.
Yeah.
You know, that he is, you know, as it says, sorcerer of violence, exuding threat. We all have a picture of the Fist now, I think. Salah, what do we see at the end of the battle from Salah's perspective?
I think we see Salah, glowing Salah, moving amongst the pilgrims that the Jezdec brought, and pressing them to come to the true path, follow the shining path, and gain some of the power that he is obviously conveying.
Fine, that'll give you fictional positioning to try to recruit some of them formally next time. And finally, Gerald, what do we see?
Well, there was a part of me that was kind of, I mean, he's going to die anyway if we turn the age, I guess. So, yeah, I think after the beheading, I think you'll see Gerald, it's that sort of rout scene in a battle, right? Where there's, and then you'll see him, do, with that sort of like charging after them, but then he'll see Vang, on the a sort of a spectral version of this sort of steed of legend, and I just get a sense of, the battle's kind of still going on around him, but he stops and he sees Vang, and they make that final sort of, tip of the tip of the, eye contact, and and we just see that's kind of how you stop. You see that Gerald.
And I'm just curious. We do know that Gerald is not going to make it to the next age. Do you want to see him ride out of history and into myth now? Or is he just not there when the age turns?
Yeah, this is the part where if I would have known better, I would have reserved the outsider role for the very end instead of the beginning, and I would have done the rogue, which is really actually what I think I was doing more of anyway. And that it would have been perfect to have chosen to shift to this outsider thing, and he does just ride off into legend because that would have filled all four of them. He would have died and whatnot. But I do want, I guess it doesn't really matter at this point. I do kind of want, him to ride off into legend, because the house doesn't gain anything from this, right? Since we didn't get the 10 plus. So I don't feel compelled to stick around and consolidate power. So I think you see him ride off. And I thought, I don't know if this makes sense, but I thought it would be kind of cool if Vang, maybe what's left of Vang, becomes a new one of those trees, like of the wise, on the site where that place of bones was.
Well, look, I tell you what, because you have a death move, because I think you just told me that you want to ride out of history into myth. You are dying, right? And it says, when you die, say what the travelers who know you will tell of your life and death. Going clockwise around the table, each player adds or alters one element of the tale until the complete legend has been told. I'm going to suggest that we don't do that cold now, that we give that a bit of thought for next time. That is where we will start, because I think that what we'll see at the end of this episode is, you see Vang and you set off after Vang. And as you're getting closer, there's a haziness on the plain, and you ride into the pastures of your ancestors.
Love it.
And Vang leads the remaining army of the dead away. And then we roll credits. Yeah, okay. I really enjoyed that. Thanks, folks. So I would like to do a quick stars and wishes, if that's okay. So in the order I can see you, Alex, any stars?
Yes. Star, I think, to you, first of all, Alan, for these rules. I enjoyed the narrative approach to running mass combat. My first exposure to mass combat was the battle system rules that TSR published, that I bought, and that my friend and I, when I was in 6th grade, tried our darndest to figure out with all the little punch-out cardboard pieces. So this is certainly less granular, but much easier, and thematically, I think, works really well. So kudos to you on that.
Great, thanks for that. Any wishes for next time? Anything, wishes for the house, wishes for Alina, wishes for, are there mechanics that we haven't engaged with that you're interested in seeing work, or anything?
No, I feel like the cursed are, coming together, and I'm looking forward, maybe looking forward in developing some relationships. I mean, I have the existing relationship with the Shining Path, but maybe of creating relationships with one of the other groups as well.
Fine. Well, there is that, what's it called in this version? There's the house move, which is, I've lost it. Oh, no, there isn't. Oh, gosh, no, the diplomacy has gone. Oh, well, we'll find a way to do that. Fine. Relationships with other houses. Dan, any stars, any wishes?
That was great. I also really enjoyed the battle stuff, but shout out to Jason again for a great heist scene. I really enjoying playing against my own house. That was not an unexpected. That was an unexpected bright spot, I guess. I'm really enjoying quick characters. I thought this would be a real drag on the game, but it's really just adding a lot of great flavor and really opportunity for the players to interact, even if our main characters are not interacting. So that's been great. Joe, thanks for leaning in on Vang and the relationship between those between him and Gerald. I thought that worked really, really nicely. Which is while we're at it, I'd love a chance to play a one of the wise characters. So that's all I got.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm writing in wise soon.
Oh,
Dan.
actually, I did want to say one other thing. Kassie has got some big plans for some subterfuge, so I'm gonna write it down so I remember that that's what I want.
Yeah, do
next time.
big plans for subterfuge. I might have cut you off there, Alex. Were you about to say? I
was about to say that
agents.
I wanted to second Dan's comment about the fun in playing the. Sorry, no, I forgot what they're called. The temporary characters. The what?
Quick characters.
The quick characters, yeah. It reminds me a little bit of Dungeon Crawl Classics and the funnel, where you play like 3 or 4 different characters at the same time, and allows you to really kind of make very dramatic fun because you're not worried about the characters dying. So you can make choices that thematically help the entire scene, as opposed to just making sure that your character survives.
Yeah, the quick characters are there to drive like a stolen car. No question. Jason, any stars, any wishes?
Yeah, just before I forget, just to put on your agenda, Alan, it looks like there's a couple of things we need to do when a project is doomed and if doom
yes.
fills first. So those are some interesting picks.
We'll do the consequences of doom. Then we'll turn the age. Well, we'll start with the story of Gerald. Then we'll do doom. Then we'll turn the age, and then we'll start the summer season.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. I really like the heist. I liked how we did it. I think it's really interesting the way we did it today, and I think it's a good way to going forward to maybe think about is that like someone would do something and then call for aid, which helps us obviously mechanically, but also it like meshes the characters together and like makes more of an interesting narrative. So I like how we did that. Let's see. Stars to my dice. I got good rolls every time I needed it. I feel Shining Path has accomplished their goals in this age. It went really well for me. So good job, me.
Go Shining Path.
Mm-hmm.
Turmoil, chaos, doom.
Oh yeah, that was perfect. Alan, you were leaning into it because you were picking turmoil whenever you could too. So I think you were on the same path as I was.
Well, I'm just keen to explore the rules, particularly as that's a rule that isn't in Legacy, the core Legacy. So wishes for next time?
Just make sure we get these doom things. Do we do both of them? Because it says there's one. I'm looking at the tab for the wise. It says when our project is doomed, that we have some picks. Yeah. And then there's also a separate one if doom fills first. Do we do both of those? Or just
yes.
One? Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah. So you might want to check that out, folks. That bit about mark doom when and if doom fills first, because it's all going a bit Pete Tong. And then finally, Joe, any stars, any wishes?
So I guess stars to everyone for letting me send Gerald out in a blaze of glory. I appreciate it. I'd finally done some pre-planning in my head, and I'm glad it worked out the way it did. Stars, Jason, I'm jealous of your deviousness and your I'm taking notes. So I also plan to have plans. They might not be as formulated as Kassie's, but there will be a new step person. There'll be a new horse lord next time, and maybe they will be a little more devious. So yeah, and then wishes. So I'll third the stuff about the quick characters. I was very, very, very dubious about that, like maybe Dan was, right? And I also like how mid-game you can just kind of have a little break and do something completely different than what you were doing before, which is kind of fun. It's more fun than I thought it would be. And Alan, just at episode 4, I am turning the corner on how I feel about this game. So that's a star to you. But that worked out. The characters, they were super quick to do, and didn't really drag anything down, right? And it was a fun little interlude that you could do. And so I think wishes, I'm looking forward to, like, so when we do this turning, we're just going up a season, right? So we're not going.
Oh no. When a project either succeeds or is doomed, that's the timer for the age turning. So what we will do next time is we will do Geralt's story as a bit of narrative around the table. Then we will do the consequences of doom. If doom fills first, blah. Then we'll turn the age, which is on the favor, time, and turmoil. And then we'll turn the season, because it will, at the end of spring, it will become summer. But right. It's summer. It's summer. It's a generation on.
Oh, okay, cool. I like that. That was what I've been waiting for. That's part of this that I think is super cool. Another wish is maybe as we go through that, we could like bring back or touch on these marauders that we kind of ran into in the north. Maybe they could make some sort, maybe that, a new threat, so to speak.
Well, I a generation on, we'll have a chance to kind of work out what's changed.
Right. Cool. So
yeah, you and me.
Yeah.
Road was never built. So me, stars. Stars for your willingness to kind of indulge me on playtesting a set of rules that have nothing to do with Legacy or Free from the Yoke. Thank you for that. I was very pleased with them as well, for what it's worth. I loved the way, Joe, that you wanted, you had a thought for Gerald, and I love the way we all came around you to try and make that happen. And it's been a long time since I turned somebody into a centaur. Dan, thank you for operating that Chinese wall between what does the Chisel and Mallet want to happen, but what does this quick character want to happen that's going to put the Chisel and the way that we know nothing about the way that the Chisel and Mallet works at the minute, apart from the narrative fictional sense that all is not well in Denmark at this point. I loved the way that you played the fist. I was pleased to be able to say yes to this idea that there is more to the fist than meets the eye, and thank you for going with laying about him with trunks of trees. Alex, thanks for that. And Jason, yeah, I thought the heist was really cool. And it's the rules don't quite say how zoom ins relate directly to surpluses, but it seems to me that you just have to, the rules are loose enough to make it work. And I really enjoy the heist as well. And the fact that Dan, your quick character, was an excellent distraction. Thank you. So no, I'm having a great time, guys. Thank you for that. So I'm going to stop the recording.